Good evening and welcome to Business Today on Channel I. On this program, we talk about business, entrepreneurship and many insightful topics with high-profile individuals. Keep tuning in to today's episode as well. Now, education and business has a close link, and to discuss about this topic, we have with us the CEO of elearning.lk, and to know more about who this individual is, let's take a look at the character profile.
Sanjaya Elvitigala is an entrepreneur with over 16 years of practical experience working in the information technology and educational services industry. He is skilled in e-learning, digital content development, learning management systems, SaaS platforms, search engine optimization, digital marketing and social entrepreneurship. He completed his primary and secondary education at Dharmapala Vidyalaya, Pannipitiya. He was a computer science major at the University of Colombo and obtained his MBA in management from the University of Sri Jayawardhanapura, where he is an active representative of the class of 2015. He also acts as a visiting faculty member and a guest lecturer for various private and state universities. Sanjay started his first company in the frontmost bedroom of his home in 2006 with a few of his friends. They are now serving over 1,000 customers, both local and foreign, in the areas of digital transformation, marketing and development. He has also co-founded elearning.lk, which is a pioneering educational technology company spearheading online learning and knowledge management system research and development. He has received many awards and honors such as the Outstanding Contribution to E-Learning Silver Award, Sustainable Education Foundation April 2019, Best Innovation in EduTech Merit Award eSwabhimani November 2018, Best Innovator in Learning Technology USJ Masters Alumni June 2018. Sanjay is looking to connect with like-minded professionals and potential partners, striving to build a Fortune 100 company that has its roots firmly woven in the ideology that knowledge is power.
Good evening, Mr. Sanjay, and welcome to the program.
Good evening, Prashant, and thank you for having me.
Yes, now tell us as we start, what does elearning.lk really do as a company?
Okay, as a company, we first started, the idea came into fruition in 2011, way back. But at the time, Sri Lanka wasn't ready as a country for e-learning because a lot of people didn't know that they could actually learn something in a process at the time. So the time was then, we have given up the idea for a bit, and then 2016, 2017, all these live webinars and companies are used to getting online training. All these employees were getting used to that. So then thought, all right, so now is the time to get into corporate learning. So in 2018, we have started the company. So we have three branches per se. One is the public learning arm, where we develop courses mainly for the professional crowd, for the people who are working in companies to develop their skills in what they do. So we help them to do that, from soft skills to technical skills. And then we also have an arm for school students and university students, helping them out. And the other two arms are basically for software development. So we have a software as a service product, which is an LMS that we develop in-house in Sri Lanka, and we are going global with it. So that's our plan for the future as well. Apart from that, we also have a content development arm where we take certain curriculums and we make it accessible online, or we make the content for the educational syllabuses online, make it online basically, make it interactive.
Okay. Now, we see that there are many flaws and drawbacks when it comes to the traditional educational system. How can elearning.lk provide a solution for these problems, and what are the main pressing matters you see in the traditional system?
Okay, the main pressing matter in the traditional system in Sri Lanka, what I see is the lack of access to the students to digital learning material, as well as the one major important thing is the way it's called the pedagogy, where pedagogy is the word, but the meaning is that's how we learn, how we teach something.
Okay.
Right? In Sri Lanka, what we teach is basically teacher is preaching and the students are listening. And if they ask a question, sometimes the teacher doesn't know the answer because he or she is following a predefined set of guidelines. So that's the thing that we have to change. It's called critical thinking. So we need to add the critical thinking component to the education system. So in e-learning we can do it to some extent, but the thing is the actual syllabuses has to be evolved in order to take that in. Then we can do wonders with e-learning.
Okay, now you said that sometimes when a student asks a teacher a particular question, he or she might not know the answer. What is the reason for this, and what do you think should be done in order to avoid this in the future?
Okay, it's actually a matter that is engulfing the entire earth, entire globe. All the countries have this problem because the students nowadays are so far ahead of the teachers because basically because of the internet, because they have access to knowledge. As I said, knowledge is power, right? So students having more time to spend on their leisure time, as well as whatever time they get, they go online and search for stuff and learn stuff. So when you compare that to a person who's already having a family life, who's already running things day to day, who has a lot of day-to-day troubles to deal with, so that person might miss out on certain things. So that's natural. So we cannot expect the teachers to go in and adopt that lifestyle. What the teachers can do is they can be facilitators. So they have to change their role to become facilitators. Children are anyway learners. So let them learn, or all you have to do is facilitate them, guide them in the correct direction. So that's the training that has to be provided to the teachers at the government level. If that training is provided, the children will do their part. That's what I think.
Right. Now, when you implemented this platform of online learning, what are some of the challenges that you faced?
Okay, in 2018, as I said, we started targeting corporate learning, which was already a thing in the society, in the market. So at that time, we were easily capable to introduce our software as a service LMS platform as well as our courses to corporates. But the challenge came when we introduced courses to the general public, where we targeted age 24 and below, right? So a lot of these students didn't actually following, they weren't used to having learning content online, especially for the school children. The parents didn't know that this thing can be useful, right? Only after COVID hit, they started, it was out of necessity that they were forced to use the technology. So before that, the phones were considered taboo for the children, and laptops were given, the internet was somehow restricted to children. But afterwards, I think still the dogma is there. However, we have an opportunity to show them that e-learning through internet, learning can happen. So that was the major obstacle that the nature has solved in a very bad situation, but there was one silver lining. So that's what I consider. But having said that, the major challenge still in Sri Lanka is the connectivity and the devices. So actually e-learning consuming through a mobile phone with that 5-6 inch screen is not recommended. Out of necessity you can do that, but in order to reap the full benefits and the interactivity that it provides, you kind of have to have a computer screen at least 12 inches with a good connection. So if you have those, let's say, imagine we have Zoom classes, right? So basically all the Zoom classes, they are just broadcasting what the schools used to do. So only the medium changed, the method didn't change, right? Schools were used to, as I said, on a whiteboard or a blackboard, teacher teaches and people listen. On a Zoom class, that's the exact thing that happens. Only the medium changed, but the interactivity is not there. So in order to get the interactivity, you need to have good connectivity. In Sri Lanka, most of the rural areas, we don't have that connectivity. Even in the urban areas, all these wireless connections breaks down and the video quality is so bad. So those are the major obstacles, and if we can solve those, I think it's getting solved slowly, but not enough for speed.
Right.
But if we can solve those, I think this has a great potential to drive a lot of change in the society.
Exactly. Like you mentioned, I was thinking the same thing. After COVID hit, the parents were forced to actually use technology and to let their children actually use this technology. Now, when it comes to using this technology, you mentioned that not everyone has the facilities, and even if they do, sometimes the providers might fail and might fall short of providing a stable connection. So when it comes to your company, do you have an institution where you get everyone to maybe come together and then learn using technology, or how does it work?
Yeah, I'm a strictly 100% e-learning company. So our mantra is e-learning, and we will never open a physical institute.
Okay.
We partner with other institutes, yes, we already have. But by ourselves, I don't think we will ever do that.
Okay.
So it's going to be 100% online. What our target is to have some interactivity introduced. I mean, in the market, it's there already. We have AR, VR, we have things like metaverse, things like interactive learning, gamified learning. All these things are there. But I want the mass market to adapt them. I mean, they are mostly on research level in Sri Lanka, and only few people know about them. Few people use them.
Yeah.
But what I want to do is make it available and accessible for most of the population. So that's the challenge we are having, and for that we are researching in certain technology areas. We are compelled to use less bandwidth hogging mediums like video only, or HD video. Without that, we are trying to get more of interactive and gamified experiences, mainly through JavaScript based learning interactive activities, so the students can get that feeling, get that knowledge, without having to have too much of a hit on their data usage as well as their financials.
Great. Now, you have actually implemented some courses free of charge. What is the motivation behind this, and how were you able to actually provide these services free of charge?
All right. So from the onset of the company, we are an education company, and we know that not all of the education should be commercialized, right? Some part of it can be commercialized, but not all of it. So the primary education or the school education is what we are focusing on, that we believe that everyone should have it. Everyone should have access to it. So that's why from the get-go, whatever courses we design, it was a 80-20 split. 20% were paid courses, 80% were free courses anyway. So that's what we were doing from the beginning. But recently, what we have done is in YouTube, you can find there are a lot of good teachers around Sri Lanka that they are doing their own thing in YouTube. Sometimes they don't have these mass classes like mass tuition. They don't even do tuition. So these people are really good at teaching, really interactive, really not boring. These people are really good. But the thing is, they only have 100, 200 views on YouTube.
Right.
Why? Because they don't know how to market it. I mean, just because you put a video on YouTube, it doesn't guarantee that it will hit, right? It will go viral. So that's where I come in. So we have my staff. We have decided with my staff to curate all these people and select the best out of them, the ones who are doing the best teaching, and we line them up because it was anyway public domain, public knowledge. So we embed their video. We don't even download and upload to our system. We embed it directly from YouTube, and we have a curated list for all these classes from grade 1 to 13. So that was a huge thing for the students, because they don't need to go and search. Now they have each subject. We have the curriculum is there. Almost all the lessons are there, so they can follow it step by step with the best teachers out there who are teaching in YouTube already. So the teachers will get a benefit, as well as the students will also have it under one roof. So that's what I basically did very recently regarding the school children.
Okay. Now you mentioned that usually what happens in a school is the teachers and the kids just learn, and it's quite frankly a bit boring for the students as well. How do you work around that? How do you keep the children interested?
Great. Actually, that's the main criteria or main focus point of all these other countries as well. How do you keep children interested? So in a traditional school setting, you can, or in e-learning as well, you can give them activity-based learning or problem-solving based learning. For example, we have a fuel crisis in Sri Lanka now. So what if we ask our grade 6 or grade 7 students, all right, this is the problem, find a solution, give us your suggested answers. And to your surprise, they would give some innovative ideas out of the box, because they are not restricted by anything, right? They have a free mind unless we corrupt it, right? So they would give that additional idea, and we would also ask them, okay, you have an idea, now try to implement it. So they would need the knowledge of science, maths, we call it the STEAM subjects, all science, math, engineering, technology and arts, all these together. They would need a solution with covering every aspect. Right. So, for example, if we take the fuel crisis, so in order to make calculations, you need mathematics. In order to make the software for that, you need science and technology. In order to have the UI good enough for anyone can use it, you need the knowledge of arts. Right. So all these things can be coupled. So give them a problem which includes all the subject knowledge, which has to include all the subject knowledge. let them solve it. When they stuck, they will come to you as the teacher. So the teacher can give that particular theory knowledge at that point, so they could actually convert it to practical knowledge. I think this is how the entire education system should be changed.
Right. Now, obviously, you have implemented e-learning and you're a strong believer in e-learning. And you mentioned that there are obviously some benefits of switching to e-learning. But just tell me, what are the real advantages of switching to e-learning?
Okay. So the obvious advantages are you don't have to travel. You don't need to waste time on the road. You can always watch the replay if you miss the class. And the cost benefit as well, you don't need to maintain large institutions or pay for electricity bills or whatever, so that benefit can go to the student. And the best part is you can access the knowledge from anywhere in the world, right? So we can learn from the best tutor in US or best tutor in China, whatever, if it does it that English.
Yeah.
But even you have the online translators nowadays. If you use the technology to the max, there are live translators. If you do it in separate different language, it will convert back to English. So
and you can get captions as well. Yeah.
As well. So those are the things that are mainly obvious things. But the things that are really need to happen is the interactivity. So you need to be part of the learning process. So for example, I will tell you there's a training for flight simulators. So if you want to learn piloting an aircraft, all you have to do is nowadays you need to put that VR goggle and you are in the aircraft, and actually you can turn on the buttons like this on the aircraft console, right? So basically the only thing changes from going that to an actual aircraft is you actually physically they are being sitting in an aircraft. All the other things are taught, you know all the rest. Right? So basically that's the interactivity level we are going after. So that needs to happen in e-learning for at least for selected subjects at the earliest. So that's what we are researching on these days.
Okay, and do you see any disadvantages of switching to e-learning?
Well, it's counterintuitive to say that, but
I mean, if you see some disadvantages, obviously you can provide a solution.
The disadvantages comes because we don't know how to use it, basically.
Okay.
So if so currently there are, because people are getting bored because of the way the teaching is happening now. So that's why I'm here to change that.
Okay.
So this is not the way to teach it, this is how to do it. So I'm opening up the technology platform. It will take time. We have to train the teachers as well, and we have to develop the content for that. But in 5, 6, maybe 10 years time, we could make it mainstream in Sri Lanka as well. So that is one of my goals.
Right. It's very true what you said, because the main reason that kids get bored is because the same system which is in the school is being transferred to a different platform.
I'll tell you one example. So we think there's a chatter basically from grade 1 to 5 that e-learning does not work for them, right? Because they are so small, they can't keep their attention on a lesson. Then tell me how my son, we are speaking Sinhala at home, but he's very fluent in English without giving him any classes, or without I mean, by the time he went to grade 1, he was very fluent in English. How did that happen? That happen because of YouTube Kids. So you can't say that you cannot keep they cannot keep the focus. If you are giving a good enough, interactive enough content, right, that they can enjoy, basically educational cartoons, for example, they can learn from that, right? So you can't say that small students are not able to keep their focus on an online webinar. Maybe they are not, but from YouTube or any other kids programs, all these knowledge, Sesame Street, for example, in our time. So we learned a lot from those. So still this can be done if you do it good enough.
Right. Now you hand out different courses and you teach different courses, if I'm not mistaken. What are the most demanded courses these days?
Okay, so these days we have our IT courses are going really good. All these things like Java, Python, and graphics side, and then we have Office courses for Excel and stuff. And the things that the IELTS course is doing really good these days because we have a lot of demand for it. So that's flying. We have introduced another batch recently, so anyone can join if they want to. The other one is the psychology aspect. So we teach psychology online, right? So that's one of the differentiators that we have from the other institutions, if there are any. So basically we teach psychology for parents on how to groom your kids, how to raise your kids. And we do psychology classes these are group classes, for youth to how to enjoy their life.
So this is not, you don't get any sort of certificate or anything, it's just for your general knowledge, is it?
The psychology courses, yes.
Okay.
Because you have to polish your, inner well-being.
Definitely,
right?
yeah.
Otherwise, you can't live in a society like today, ever-changing world, right? So you need to learn how to handle stress, how to live with kids, how to have a good life with your husband. So all those are there. So that course is quite different from what others do, and all the other courses, most of them we have partnered with other institutes. So once you do the course, the certificate will be given from that institute.
Okay.
And there are courses that we conduct ourselves, and we give the certificates for certain selected courses.
Right. Now you mentioned that parents obviously have a big role in bringing this into a reality, because at the end of the day the parents are the ones who really interact with their own kids. So what can parents actually do to help you bring this into a reality?
So the parents needs to clear their doubts. So if they have doubts, they need to watch programs like this, right? And then learn what is this about, and they need to open their eyes and be open. That the children are anyway going ahead of us. They mostly, every generation that comes out are 10 years ahead from the previous generation, right? So even you, I think you have enough time for get ahead. When you are my age, you will be 10 years ahead of me. Basically, that's what I'm saying. So like that, the parents need to be open for that opportunity and grab that opportunity and try to make that change. So in our case, our people are in the comfort zone, right? The parents think basically, if you send your kids to school, so their education is all right? It's been taken care of.
They've done their job.
Yeah, they've done their job. It's not like that,
Okay.
right? The education is something that you need, needs to happen 24/7. So the parents should also be knowledgeable enough to have that access. Let them do it, but maybe there are certain times you need to control it, because the internet is it has both good and bad. So there are technological solutions to filter out the bad and give only the good stuff. So parents should also have to have some technical knowledge. I'm not saying a major one, but some knowledge, and they need to start talking with the kids, like act like parents and act like friends. And then if that happens and the kids gets all that access, the human capital of a particular country or a society can be enormous, and that can do wonders for that country and even the world.
Right. And have you seen any advantages from different countries implementing e-learning already? There are many countries that have started using technology way before we did. Have you seen a big difference in their level of education versus ours?
Yes, because most of the companies that are believing in these technologies and have the device access and the data connections and all that, and the openness to technology, so they have a lot of small startups that are innovating all the time. So there are hundreds of, if you take Netherlands for example, so there are hundreds of startups in the education space. They are doing different things. Some are doing AR technologies, some are doing VR technologies, some are doing virtual reality and augmented reality, and some are doing they are creating small devices for STEM education, right? So they have workshops. So it's kind of like a hybrid program where the physical and the online thing happens together. So different aspects they are looking into, different technologies, new technologies, how to teach train the teachers. So governments in those countries are doing exactly that. So there's a lot of things that we are yet to do, but these countries are capitalizing on them.
Okay. Hopefully we'll be able to make your reality into a practical application and make way for e-learning in the future.
Looking forward to it, yes.
Right, and that winds up today's episode of Business Today, and I was with Sanjaya Elvitigala, the CEO of elearning.lk. Thank you so much for being with us this evening.
Thank you for having me.
And that winds up today's episode. Do join us next week as well. Till then, have a good night.